What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am BDLM, coming with my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode number 80 of our DoD on Demand podcast. What's going on, man?
We did it again! Just when we thought we couldn't keep going. Just when all the haters tried to bring us down. We showed haters? Them. I don't know. Haters? It's just trying to make it sound dramatic and like...
Was it the kindergarten girls?
Gosh, they're just so mean.
Making fun of
you know, they're like, you don't have a bow in your hair. What's the deal with that? And I'm like, well, sorry, my mother never gave me one, and it's not my fault. You know, and then I have to cry for an hour. It's really sad.
Cut the pigtails real short, and you couldn't do it. I understand. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, great intro. Yeah, this week we have a good episode. First of all, we gotta plug the old Facebook because you and me, you know, we've been doing this for a while now, and we're going ham, kids. We've got some stuff in the pipelines. I know we said that before, but we actually have already started working on the production level of a new part of the DoD on Demand experience, and so we're gonna be pretty excited to bring that to you guys. And we are asking for any of your slightly ridiculous, trolly kind of games. I'm not saying low tier, right? But if it's not going to be up in Star Ladder, you know, you're welcome to send it in, because we want to see. We have a new sort of segment thing you'll see when it finally gets unveiled, but we could certainly use your replays for that. And there's also a really creepy picture of me on our Facebook, and you know, we're at 197 likes on the Facebook. It'd be great if you guys felt like dropping by, giving us a couple more likes, push us over the 200.
If you guys get us to 200, we will give you the content we were already planning on giving you.
Yeah, but like for sure.
But that'll definitely make us for sure want to do it. Exactly.
Well, like, gotcha. No, we're actually gonna put it out. And you know, the other thing too, I feel like some Facebook things for organizations and that they kind of like spam your Facebook with a lot of this stuff. J4Y here, he does a great job of putting up only things that you might actually care about, and then pictures of me being creepy.
That's a good ratio, I think.
It's a good one. Yeah, so it's not a lot of useless information. It's all very tightly kept. Very nice. So kudos to you, sir. But also, we're going to wind up talking about the Silencer Axe game that we wound up playing. We're going to be talking about the Dream League that we have put together with some of you viewers out there. And we're also going to be talking about Blink Dagger. And, you know, we sort of, when 6.8 hit, we were like, oh, snap. No Mana Cost on Blink Dagger. That's totally going to be a thing. Now that we're, you know, about 40-some days into the patch, we can sort of take a step back and look at the numbers and see, you know, what kind of effect it's been having in the meta as a whole. So, yeah, Silencer Axe, Jay. It was the best of times. It was just that, right?
That pretty much sums up the entire description of the game. I mean, we decided to run it. I think we went to the off lane. The original plan was the safe lane, and you know, things happen when people draft, and or I should say random, or hit the random button. However they do it, they pick their heroes, and you know, we're like, that's okay. You know, we're a strong lane, we're a strong synergy bond, we're good friends. This is gonna work. The ESP thing, it is there. We think usually 90% of the time, and yeah, like you said, actually, it read surprisingly very well. Well, not too surprisingly. We did go the double dot combo. That was the whole point of it, of course. Battle hunger, plus all the craziness that Silencer does these days.
All of it.
All of it. And I know for fact at least one of our kills was because the dots were too much for someone and they died.
Oh, it was like 2 or 3, I think. There were several where like, oh, they're out of range, and it's like, 2 int, what's up? It was glorious. And you know, me personally, as somebody who likes to play Silencer, I'm not a big fan of Curse of the Silent. I got some flack for it one time in a game with some of our friends. I'm just like, hey, they got a lot of stuff. They got a lot of stuff to cast. They got bottles coming and stuff. It's not going to do a whole lot. And I'm going to spend all these points in it. It's like, but you know what? It actually wound up working out that game. And you know, I like the Glaives of Wisdom. I guess you only need I kind of, you know, I'm turning around to it. It's like one of those things, though, where if you don't max out Curse the Silent, then it's like, it doesn't feel all that spiffy.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It's like you have to put points into it to keep it meh. until it falls off. Unless you're up against like really specific heroes that you can abuse with it, like maybe a centaur, right? Other than that, it's just kind of eh. And I really do like the early point in Glaive for harassment. And Last Word is just like ridiculous. Like you can't not put most of your points into Last Word.
It gains so much from every point. You get the cooldown reduction, disarm, silence, duration, the damage. I mean, everything just seems to go up and up with Last Word. And the Gaze of Wisdom, I think the 1 point is really nice, just so you have an orb to, like you said, harass with and not get creep aggro. So it seems nice to have that one. And like you were saying, the Curse of Silence, I mean, it can be really effective at like the later ranks if they don't cast a spell, if you time it properly. But otherwise, obviously late game it's negligible because the damage is over a decent amount of time, 6 seconds, and the mana drain, all you gotta do is cast something, and a lot of heroes have a cheap spell or a short cooldown thing or something to get it off, so usually not very good, but Bout of Hunger is usually pretty annoying, especially early in the laning phase. Kind of harder to get last hits. So, it really did end up going well, and we actually drew so much hate to us that people would just decide to gank us because we were pretty much the only lane doing really decently for our team. So, not saying we're like the bomb or anything, but I mean,
we pretty much.
But we were. So, so I guess I am saying that.
Explosions everywhere.
Everywhere.
We've been doing these like series of games. Like, the thing I learned was I actually the putting the 1 point into Glaives and then putting the rest in a Curse of Silence. I was actually like, okay, I'm fine with this. This feels all right. Curse of the Silence still didn't feel super strong, but I didn't feel weaker for not having more points. Because really, plus 15% your int to damage conversion. Really, especially if you're support, not doing it. So, I get it. I guess if I have to be okay with it. Well,
yeah, it's very minimal damage when you think about it, because you get 2.5 int per level. You're playing support, so you were playing support, so you're not getting a lot of items really, and it's just kind of mediocre in the early parts of the game at least. So, and you're not trying to if you were trying to last hit creeps, then it obviously is much more helpful to have that, or stats. But I think what I mainly learned, 2 things. Mm-hmm. One, I do not know the new threshold with Calling Blade. I say new. It's been around for a while now, and I just am not familiar with it. I'm so used to having that bigger range, the maximum health or the health they have to be at in order to get the kill, that I tell you, I had a lot of missed kills for sure that I didn't get the resets on, and I didn't go the Aghanims right away, so it was just like really hard for me to get those last hits. But I'm not the only one. There's a game later we're going to talk about, but let's just say a certain professional was having similar issues with their ultimates. That's all I got to say for now.
Teaser. Sometimes you go for the rim and you slip. You can't dunk.
Can't always get the dunks, man. Not always. No.
Yeah, but it was definitely a fun game, and I think a great way to end our Ogre Sniper combination. So, I mean, if anybody else out there is, running their own combinations, running their own sprees, has suggestions for sprees to run, let us know, and we'll consider them.
Indeed.
What about the league, man? I mean, Dream League is pretty much in full swing. We're in the middle of week 2. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but both the games, the production value, we also got to see the compendium for the first time this week. And then we also finally got our own league started up with viewers, which was awesome. Got that set up last night. What have your thoughts been on all of the above?
In general, the fantasy draft was really interesting because my only background is with fantasy football in the Americas and North America, I guess. And I'm used to the way that draft, and it was actually really similar. It's a snake draft. You kind of go through with everyone to get their picks. You have certain slots. You have 2 core slots, 1 of any slot, so core support, and then 2 support slots. And then you get 3 bench warmers that you can swap in and out. And we all learned afterwards the importance of diversity in drafting.
All meaning you. Specifically.
All being especially me. Well, no, I think someone had like 3 Navi players on their team or something, but you kind of go all in on some things, and when your team's not playing, though, you don't really get all the points. So it's nice to be able to have as many people playing all 3 days of the week as possible, so you have the biggest opportunity for points. So I guess with that statement said, your team name? Can you go over the viewers what you decided to end up with here?
I settled with Artesis saves, which may have backed me into a corner a little bit because my pocket strat, right, was just like, you know what? I bet Admiral Bulldog Alliance going to do really well. He wasn't like high up on the list for points. I was like, I kind of want to like first pick Bulldog, have some faith. You know, got the Nature's Prophet, got the Lone Druid. I love the Lone Druid. Plays okay on the Timbers Hall. You know, when that comes up, but you know, solid overall, great player. Feel like he's going to wind up getting more than his average number of points that he was showing. But then I'm like, dang, not only have I just basically taunted everybody into picking Arteezy so that I have to change my team name, but he's also worth a lot more points on average, so he's just more likely a pick anyway. So had to go with Arteezy first. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think I got a pretty good draft put together. I got Era. I got Admiral Bulldog, Banksker from Team Empire. Got Mini from each of Makers. You know, so I overall...
Adventures.
What?
And then the rest of them were lessers.
I got a lot of off-laners, which I didn't realize. I got Bone 7 as well as Admiral Bulldog. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I'm hoping that Era just completely embodies the Fnatic ideal and being, like, really, like, clutch or failing altogether, right? Like, I'm hoping those tiny Wisp games, he's just like, you know, 4-man avalanche stun for all the points, and then cleave rampage left, right, and center.
I tell you, I got to watch the 3 games today. Excuse my voice. And IO was banned against Fnatic, I believe, both games, at least one of them. So no one wants that to be going up against them. So it might be a little challenging to see that. Era was making some good plays, but you know, it was funny. I was actually on Skype with one of the viewers, Joe, and we're in a matchup against each other this week, and he had Hani, and I had S4, who Alliance was playing today too. And you know, you're just hoping that your hero or your player is going to get a playmaker, because you know, if you get like a Bat Rider, it's like he's not gonna get a lot of kills. He's not gonna get a lot of tower kills. Like, these are the statistics that give you the most points, and you're like, I'm not looking for that. You know, give me something else. Like S4 with Mirana today, which the casters were like, huh, does S4 play Mirana? Like, we don't even know. And he hit arrows for days. Like, he was all over the place. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It's almost like you watch the game a whole different way than you normally do, when you're like, oh, all right, my player's in this game. Is he? All right, get the last hit, get that tower kill. Come on, we need this. Like, it's just so funny, but it makes it kind of that much more exciting. You get more involved in each game. You kind of want to watch every single one. It's kind of awesome in that way.
Yeah, you know, I haven't played a lot of fantasy. Like you said, you know, the only other fantasy game that I've played has been American football, and I only played like one season of that, but I was just amazed at how much more attention I started paying to other teams in other divisions I didn't normally watch. Just learned a lot of new people, and you know, I mean, for me, I love watching the competitive scene, but I'm more like, I just want to watch these games as opposed to like knowing the teams and keeping up with the roster changes as much as I should be doing. So this has been a really great way to just like not only keep up with the players and the rosters, but you know, like you said, I'm even paying more attention to exactly what games are being played on which days. And you know, I also didn't play in the International Fantasy League. This is the first Dota Fantasy I've done, and I like you said, I'm really impressed with like, you know, the draft and how well that turned out. And you know, I think I've heard that there've been some bugs with it, but for the most part, I've just been pretty impressed all around with it. And you know, this week I'm going up against Cody. We're playing with Rocksmith, Cody, Striker OD, Zester, Magic Man, and you know, it's looking like it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, some of us are undefeated so far. Some of us quite defeated.
Yeah. So about that. So since we drafted the second week and we didn't know how any of this worked, I'm like, well, I thought they were just going to skip the first. No. However your team lineup happened, they just gave you the points for the first week, and I'm 0-1. Needless to say, I'm a little upset. Needless to say. But it's going to be a really close week, and I got plenty of time to turn this around. So you know, I'm not fretting right now. I'm uncomfortable, but I can get back. I got my Dendy. I got so many good players. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be pretty amazing, I think. So we'll see how it goes, But I do like how the in-game spectating, you get to get the fantasy points tab. Like the last hits, and you can switch over to fantasy points. So it's kind of funny how often casters talk about their fantasy points. It might be even a little too much at times because they talk about how they're against each other. And they're like, oh my god, I can't believe S4 didn't get that last hit or something. Like, it's like, okay, all right, we don't care about how your team's doing, really. Like, and then I made a joke to Joe, and I was like, wouldn't that be funny in football if they started talking about their fantasy drafts? Like, oh, I really wish that Adrian Peterson ran that one for a touchdown because I would have gotten. So you gotta get maybe a little more professional, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, it is cool though. I mean, it's just pretty new and exciting, I feel like, and I'm curious to see how it gets introduced into other tournaments too, because I feel like just the scale of a lot of these tournaments are just increasing to match them. Starladder is now including an Asian scene. Even the international, it's including more regions as opposed to East versus West. There's like a lot more structure, a lot more detail put into the structure of the tournaments, as well as the stuff that's happening outside and around them, such as fantasy. And the only other thing that I have to say about the fantasy is that, well, I guess there are two things. First of all, you never really got to introduce your team. Maybe you should do that.
Oh, yeah.
You never got.
Yeah, well, I said the most important one, right? I talked about the Dendy, of course.
Of course.
Everyone needs to know about having him on his team.
First pick Dendy, I do believe.
It was in fact. Now I was third in the draft, and you can get a little not screwed over, but you do get more limited options. You were, I believe, second, and Zester was first, and we were wondering if he was going to just take the Arteezy from you or not, and how much drama that may have led to had he actually went with that.
I don't know if you can kick people's likes or kick people's follows from your Twitches, and that might have happened. I'm just saying, but
I did go the Dendy. I went Resolution, Team Empire, of course. S4, like I said, Ali 2000, who I believe you were upset that I took that from underneath you. The Pilot Eye, TC, Aki, and Yol. So, what I was upset with, another thing, of course this is a learning experience, but because we did the draft at a certain time we did, your roster locks in at 6 p.m. the day before. So, I had already drafted my team, and Alliance played today, and Aki's on my bench from how I drafted, and I didn't get to put him in. And Aki had a huge day today alongside, now thankfully so did S4, but he was playing his signature Chen, and he was just crushing it, because one of the statistics, of course hero kills is a big one, there's farm, but then there's also tower kills. And let's just say Chen is really good at getting tower kills, and also Roshan kills. He got one of those as well that gives it a full point as well, and it's just like, I was just like pounding my forehead like, oh my god, if I had Aki in right now, I'd be crushing it. But, like I said, this is just a week, everyone's a little thrown off, so we're all going to have to recover for next week, and then it should be real good for that.
Yeah, I mean, the highest point player at the time was Silent, who Zesty wound up picking up, I do believe. Yeah, he did pick him up from Empire. I mean, Empire, it seemed like every single one of their players really good in the standings. I mean, they've just been playing really solid. That team in general, right? I've really enjoyed watching them in the past. They, are like any long-standing big-name team. They have their slumps, but they're doing quite well right now, and I'm definitely going to be looking forward to following them in the Dream League. And then just to finalize the league stuff, week 3. It's J4 Wise Guys, which, by the way, I came up with that name as well. I'm just going to go for the top 2 team names in the league. Just saying. Against Arteezy Saves. It's gonna be a clash of the Titans.
Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be a throwdown.
There's gonna be a lot of trash talk going on this week, and of course we're gonna have to give you the results of how it's going. Like you said, our podcast is literally right in the middle because it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'll give you an update of how the battle is going down. But I'm definitely looking forward to mopping the floor with your team. So it'll be definitely good to go. I have to say I'm actually really impressed with Empire, though, in general. Not that I want to get too involved in it right now, but I just want to say they've always been a team in the past where I've never been fully impressed with. They've always had issues or team malfunctions or people that haven't gotten along or kind of been misfits, but the roster they're running right now just seems so together and competent, and some of these players have just been absolutely playing out of their mind. They're beating teams like Na'Vi and such. I mean, they're really just showing their prowess here, and it's been a pleasure to watch them, like I said. So definitely looking forward to seeing what they can pull off here and for this competition. And I believe is it the top. You have to help me out here. Top 6 teams, I think it is. They get to go to the LAN finals after this is all said and done. So, we'll have to see who ends up pulling it. We'll probably do predictions as we get on here. Not tonight, but we'll probably get all that out there. But this is something, I think we said last episode, but you guys should really try to get involved if you haven't. The ticket's great. The compendium looks pretty awesome. Get yourself involved. It's only $10, and it's a really good deal, I think.
Yeah, I know you were kind of meh about it because you're not necessarily into it, but I really do like the interviews and stuff, and that was one thing that I appreciated a lot about the compendium. It has a lot of the player and team information and stuff like that, but it even has the YouTube clips of interviews with the players, and I just thought that was really cool and something that you wouldn't necessarily expect to find in the compendium, as well as the sort of the betting stuff, like who's going to get the last kill in this game or what have you. So yeah, I mean, definitely participate. Like you were saying, Jay, very much looking forward to how it all turns out. And, I mean, if we're talking about predictions, I mean, maybe easy to say, but definitely expecting to see Empire at that LAN final.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to be putting on a show when they go.
And the bottoms. Oh, that's another interesting thing. Oh. So, previously, before today, Meet Your Makers and Virtus Pro having less than a great time so far in this tournament, but, spoiler, Virtus Pro did play Fnatic and stomped them. Stomped Fnatic. It was brutal. I was so shocked because I was talking to Joe. I'm like, oh, he's got Hadi. I'm like, oh god, Hadi's gonna get 1 million points here. It's gonna be terrible. And Hadi's playing Ember Spirit mid just got trashed. It was so awful. It was I believe a 22 minute win or something, and they just came around with it. So I was like, okay, they've kind of turn it around here. Maybe they're going to look to get on a spree here or something.
It's like VP, when we were doing our draft yesterday, actually, we were kind of poking fun at some of the teams. We were just who do we have left? Okay, who do we have left that's not on MYM? Because unfortunately, some of these teams have yet to perform so far, and so, we were kind of giving them crap for that. But, I mean, Virtus Pro, they do have some great names on them. You're familiar with all these names. They have potential. I mean, God's been around forever, right? Some of these players have a history to them and, have put on great shows in different teams. And, I feel like it might be months ago now, but there was a time, man, when they were sort of up in the ranks and you were like, oh, man, VP, this is going to be a close game with whomever. And, I was even saying when we were drafting too that MYM, I feel like just some of their names, I'm like, I really have mini moments in my head, remembering some plays that he made. Mm-hmm. And just that organizer, MYM, carries so much history with them that I'm just really hoping that they're able to put together a strong lineup and they don't go, let's bounce out of Dota 2,
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully they can also gain more experience and kind of turn it around. But the way things are looking, it looks like they're definitely have a lot of work to do in the next few weeks. But there's plenty of time left in the season, and it's kind of cool also that's a season thing. This whole thing has a great feel. The GD studio has done a great job so far. Like I said, obviously not the most professional studio you'll ever work with. But then again, I can't think of one that really is to a degree. Maybe D2L, they've done with the most with AC. But besides that, I mean, it's also a fun time. They're just hilarious guys. They get along so well. And they bring a lot to the table with their casting. So I know I enjoy listening to them personally. And
not only is that a perfect segue, but, I happen to be here doing my best Bruno impression.
Oh, jeez.
I'm here with
my... Are you, unbuttoning your shirt?
Oh, okay. Oh, no, it's been buttons. It's been unbuttoned. Sorry. Just to show off all the chest hair, because, like Bruno, we're bear men. And also, I happen to be just pumping out the stats. You might not be able to see this sheet of paper. It's all numbers. Just all numbers, baby. Talking about this Blink Dagger, and I would just like to point out, I may have done this the last time that we did one of these, where we looked at sort of, heroes and how they performed in one patch versus another. It was called the Unsung Heroes of 6.79. I think is how we sort of titled the segment.
Yeah.
One of us is an economics major. The other one is an art major. And I'll just let you guess which one did all the math this week. The irony I just find hilarious. But anyway, looking at the sort of
listen, first of all, because you're just going to call me out and then try to segue away from it. Economists, which I'm not even one, I just went there as a major, did not become one. We like to, once the information's obtained, we analyze it.
Oh.
So I don't actually go out in the field and get the info. That's what you art people do. You get the info for us. You know, and then you bring it back to me. I analyze it for you. So thank you for doing your job of the world, and I'll do mine now.
I actually have 2 art-related majors, and I didn't learn that in either of.
Oh, they never taught you that?
Study. No.
Wow. Well, you should have went somewhere else, I suppose. I don't know what happened with that. All right, sorry, continue.
Get a refund on my my Crayola degree. Oh man. All right. Well, anyway, to go to the heroes and the stats, really wanted to look at heroes that you sort of would expect to maybe make a big splash with the change to Blink Dagger, removing the mana cost. And I wrote down some of these: Centaur Warrunner, Brewmaster, Enigma, Magnus, Sand King. Maybe some of the expected ones, and then even some of the not expected ones like Drow. Shadow Shaman, and Axe. I feel like you expect it, but has not really seen as much play as some of these other heroes. And really, there were some surprising results to me, and then some because I expected them to have more of a positive impact, and then somewhere it was just like, holy crap, where did that hero come from? And I guess I'll go over one of those that I was actually really surprised to not see an increase in was actually Magnus. If you look in 6.79, he had 101 games, and in 6.8, he actually only has 39. Now, 6.78 has only been around for 40 days as opposed to about 100 days for 6.79, so if you do the conversion with your calculators or your abacus, whatever you happen to break out, he actually winds up, if he stays on par for the patch, will wind up having less games, about 97 or 98 games as compared to 101. And just another thing to point out about all these heroes that I just named that was sort of interested in what the Blink Dagger might do. Actually, every single one of these heroes went up getting a buff one way or another directly through 6.78. Of course, Magnus's was 2 int, but are you surprised by that, Jay, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the Magnus thing did surprise me. Now we did discuss about how. Now that these heroes are not having to worry about spending the mana on the actual blink usage, they may even go maybe slightly different end builds. Like, for example, Magnus may not rush Arcane Boots because they get the bottle. Maybe he'll just rush and just try to get that blink as soon as possible to become such a... Obviously, when Magnus gets that blink is when he becomes a huge impact player. But it is kind of man-intensive to do the Reverse Polarity, the Impale, and, the Shockwave. Doing all of his spells still costs an arm and a leg of mana. And, he still benefits from getting the Arcane Boots, plus it helps your team, so I'm still seeing that a lot picked up when he is used, but it is interesting to see that he's, decreased, if anything. Now, I guess some of these other heroes that can use the blink have also, like you said, gotten buffs, like Brewmaster, huge buffs coming through for him. There's other heroes that are just kind of finding their way back in the scene. Slardar, good lord, he has found his way back in the scene, and it's just I don't know. I guess maybe they've been so improved or just seen in a different light that these other heroes, while not bad, are just simply falling out of graces.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point with the Magnus. That's one of really the heroes that I listed that just removing that early mana cost really doesn't necessarily make that big of a difference, right? Because like you said, everything else still costs a decent amount of mana. And even if you look at what his base mana is at level 16, it's 585. And with a level 3 ultimate that costs 300 mana, that's half your pool to be able to RP. And then your Shockwave still costs 90. It's on a short cooldown. You're obviously spamming that out to try to get your creep kills. But, first I'm thinking, yeah, if you can get that Blink Dagger up really fast, instead of being this hero that you're you can't really be shut down, but you you can lose, but you can kind of make the best of the bad situation with Shockwave. Okay, hey, he gets up his Blink Dagger, he can run around, he is that RP, he can make things happen. He doesn't have to spend so much time sort of on his back foot trying to just hold on. But yeah, I mean, when you consider the mana cost of Shockwave and RP still, I mean, it's really, I feel like something where you still have to get those Arcane Boots. Mm-hmm. And Magnus isn't even really enjoying a particularly good win rate either. I believe it's under 50% for sure. Interestingly too, I feel like he probably got the smallest amount of buff of all of the heroes that we listed. Maybe you could compare it to Tidehunter sort of, because Kraken Shell, right? But 2 base int, really not a whole lot to make up for the expensive spells.
No, it's not enough to carry it over. I thought it may be enough. Maybe that's why they did it, but no, it doesn't seem that way. He's just a little better at, sustaining in the lane with his mana pool, because obviously the way he farms middle is through the Shockwave and not necessarily last hitting with his melee attack. So, definitely something we'll just have to keep an eye on, and see how it progresses. Before we get into any more of those conversations, I think I just want to quickly... I just wanted to kind of introduce the item and kind of look at all the different ways it is before we kind of get into each hero and how they use it specifically. Just for those in case who are not 100% sure of all its ins and outs. So, Blink Dagger, 2,150 gold. Can buy from either the secret shop, or not secret shop, side shop, or from your base. 1,200 unit teleport, 12-second cooldown, no mana cost now. If damage is taken from any enemy hero, can't be used for 3 seconds. Also, if you take damage from Roshan or a player-controlled unit, like a Chen creep or Enchantress creep, things like that, you also gets disabled. However, trying to blink outside of the maximum range will cause it to blink 3/4 of the max distance, which I think actually a lot of people may not be aware of, and I know months back, but I didn't know that up front for sure, because it doesn't say it anywhere. That's something you just have to kind of inherently find out. And that is only 960 units. So, a fifth of the distance can be relatively important. Yeah?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, that's something that I think sometimes people will just, because they'll just, blink to go across the map or whatever. But really, I mean, it adds up, I feel like. And it just makes sense anyway. Why wouldn't you want to try to figure out how to get your furthest blink off? Why wouldn't you want to try to learn that distance? And, it's a while ago now that we were talking about these small ways to help improve your play. I think that's definitely a good example of one. Just really learning the sweet spot for this item, I feel like makes a big difference. And, that's another thing. If you just want to talk about generally the item and how it interacts with heroes, especially now, post 6.78, mentioned Shadow Shaman as one of these heroes. Brewmaster, I guess, has been played a lot more in the safe lane, even the Drow. But these heroes also go mid, and you figure that there are really heroes in every single laning situation that would take advantage of a Blink Dagger. They're the off-laners in some cases, your mids, your jungles, your supports, and even in some situations, your hard carries. So this item seems to appeal to everybody in that regard.
I mean, who doesn't want to be able to blink? I mean, it's just...
Baby Enchantress?
You
blink away from the target so that you get the max
damage. And then you throw the impetus. Exactly. That's the wombo combo right there. You're welcome for using that phrase. But, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Something to keep in note, like I said. Also, if you just double tap it, it makes you blink towards your fountain in that direction. But this will automatically do the 4/5 of max distance, like we were just describing. The Blink Dagger can be used to disjoint spell projectiles, like Vengeful Spirits, Magic Missile, or Sven Stun, for example. But some abilities cannot be disjointed, like Windrunner Shackle, just as an example. So it kind of has some ins and outs. That's something also it's good to research up on if you're kind of curious, or you kind of find out through real-life experience, like, oh, that didn't work like I was hoping it would, and then you don't do that again. So in the buffs, it's only really gotten buffed in recent times. Way back in War 3, it actually never got disabled from damage, which was the most ridiculous thing ever. So it's a good thing they changed that. But 6.78, the cooldown decreased from 14 to 12. 7.9, damage disabled no longer ignores self-damage, so Rot triggers it. Soul Ring still not. But the reason they did that, Blink Dagger became available on Pudge and Vengeful Spirit, which is a pretty sweet thing. And you've seen, I mean, as if we didn't hate Pudge enough in the pub scene. Now it's just all over the place. You see blinking Pudges, and it's not as fun.
I like it. I mean, it of course when you're on the wrong end of it,
yeah,
right, it feels a little. But I like it a lot more than just I'm gonna sit here and just wait till you walk out and you're right. You like it feels like a much more aggressive, like a lot. It just feels like you're not as fat of a fatty, and that you can really sort of move into the right position to make a play instead of having to necessarily wait for your enemies to let you make a play. As I feel like, especially in the pub scene, that's almost how that tends to go.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the typical thing was Force Staff pre 6.79, and now you actually have the choice if you want to go Force Staff, which is still good on him, but the blink obviously is more immediate, and you get right in that position for your hook, and it gives you that kind of timing.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, are there any heroes that you are like you think were like super impacted by this? Anyone that you're like maybe particularly happy that this buff happened to, so that you can see them more often, or hope to see them more often?
Centaur, for sure.
Yeah.
And actually, he has been getting picked up left, right, and center.
Would you like the numbers for that one, my friend?
Well, yeah, I guess might as well if you have
Since
it.
the Art Major did it, I mean, gather.
Yeah, let me analyze
here.
it, please. Let me analyze it.
Let me bring it to the table for you to work on here. 6.79, 14 pickups for Centaur. 6.8, we actually have 25, which if you apply the time multiplier, that means he could potentially have somewhere around 62 games across the patch. Now, disclaimer, not the only buff to Centaur. His other buff actually pretty big. Stampede cooldown reduced from 120 down to 60 at rank 3 to 90 to 60 at rank 3. And, you know, I think both of these changes really help make Centaur much more aggressive early, and I think that's like clearly where you see him having the most impact in the professional scene.
Right.
Really where he's able to get an early advantage or just set things up early for his team. Really a lot like the way when Stampede was first introduced. Hero felt a little overpowered, perhaps. But, you know, it was on a much shorter cooldown, I believe, and you really did feel like Centaur was just this hero that made things happen, and now between the cost coming down on Blink Dagger, as well as the buff to Stampede, obviously made a big impression on professional players.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was you or someone else telling me this, but apparently Abaddon plus Centaur is just the most impossible lane to win against in the history of Dota. Which, when I actually took the 2 seconds to think about it, it did take...
Everybody think about that. Hold on, Jay. 1, 2. And then you had it.
Epiphany.
Ding.
Yeah, so obviously you shield him, then he double edges, breaks the shield, and does the damage from the double edge, plus stomp, plus the, death coil. I mean, you just got way too much going on. And despite it being a double strength melee lane, still doesn't matter. Apparently, Ollie in the chat saying the return of Centaur plus Tiny. That is an interesting idea. Also, throwing the Centaur in so he stops and double edges. I mean, you got plenty of options, but he doesn't really need the Tiny, obviously, with the Stampede. That's kind of his great initiation these days, but he's not really meant for the late game. Like you were saying, he really does thrive in the early middle. I mean, yeah, he can be a big nuisance in the late game. If he gets some items, some blade mail in the heart or something, he's just going to take forever to kill. But
and it's interesting that you bring up the blade mail too, because I wanted to get more stats out of Dota, and unfortunately it wasn't cooperating with me. But I wanted to look at the first versus second item choices for some of these heroes too, to see, okay, has Blink Dagger moved up in the item progression? And from what I could see from Centaur, it actually had, where Blade Mail really used to be one of the first pickups on him. Blink Dagger is more popular and is earlier picked up in his builds. Now, whether that's the game's actually going late enough that he can afford a Blink Dagger, or he's having enough success that he can afford a Blink Dagger in a game, or what have you, I think just interesting that this hero that I feel like you definitely see the mana cost decrease helping. He isn't necessarily like as strapped as some of these other heroes for the mana, when you consider that he only has one ability on a 13-second cooldown that costs mana, before level 6, in which case his ultimate has a whopping 80 mana cost.
Yeah, he's obviously not needing that mana very often. So, but the Blink Dagger in general, it's still it's nice in the sense though that they can now completely use their mana for their like one spell exclusively, instead of having to also kind of manage like, okay, if I blink, will I have enough for my stun afterwards? Because that's always a big issue. It's obviously been a huge issue for Axe pretty much all his life. It's like, okay, I got my blink early, but now I can't blink, taunt, and ulti. I can't do it all. There's not enough mana for all this. And they have, of course, buffed the ulti, reducing its mana cost drastically at that earlier stage. But still, there is sometimes some mana issues, and now that the Blink Dagger is free, he's obviously been buffed tremendously from that as well, and also picked up a lot more.
Yeah, he goes from 7 pickups and 6.79 to an amazing double-digit 10.
Woo!
And 6.8, but that, across the patch could be projected to 30 pickups, which is a pretty big increase. I mean, again, this hero also got buffs this patch, aside from the Blink Dagger. Base HP regen increase. You also saw an increase the duration of Berserker's Call, despite the cooldown being rescaled to make up for some of that. Like you said, in other patches, this has sort of been touched as an issue, the mana cost being too high, and obviously you like having Battle Hunger, you want to taunt, you want to be able to dunk all day, every day.
Oh, yeah.
And Blink Dagger doesn't necessarily allow for that.
This relates now to what I was getting at earlier. Axe getting picked up in the professional scene today by Liquid against Fnatic. Bulba decides to run the Axe off lane. And very interesting, because he's against a Lycanthrope as well as a Disruptor. And one more that I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
Another.
There's one more up there. But, he's up there, and he feels alone at times, but then he gets an Enchantress like Fluff and stuff coming up there, and all of a sudden, the world collapses on them, and they dive towers, and it's just really painful to watch. But he was making some huge plays for them early in the game, but obviously as Axe kind of falls off as the game progresses, usually, assuming his team can't pump out enough damage for him to start dunking away. And this is where I was starting to talk about how the Threshold, he missed quite a few of those Threshold kills as the game progressed, unfortunately. I think he was just so desperate to finish someone off that he was kind of forgetting that it was too high, and it really may have cost him some of the team fights, but, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you see him in the offlane, and I mean, you compare him to like Nyx Assassin, who has also become this really popular offlaner just really off the HP regeneration per second alone, and now Axe and Nyx Assassin on that same plane, and I mean, you can see it, and that's obviously a great place to get the experience. I mean, against Lycanthrope, it sounds great, because then whenever he tries to stick the wolves on you to harass you at a lane, you have the chance to spin. You could potentially pick up the extra farm and experience from the wolves. So it sounds like a pretty decent solution. I feel like that's hard to get your gold, though, but if you're able to just sort of walk up and trade hits because of your higher health regeneration, you might be able to make it work.
Yeah, no, it definitely it almost felt like a Bristleback off lane, where he's just kind of durable. It's a lot more situational than a Bristleback, though, because Bristle can still kind of sit on the outskirts, use his spines to farm with, and kind of be able to tank a lot better, obviously, with his Bristleback move. But the Axe, against certain lineups, like I said, against Lycan, for example, who has the 2 wolves and himself beating on someone, as well as other people, he's going to get a lot of spin procs generally, and it could turn around those early fights really well if he RNG's on his side. It's also a good initiation late game, obviously, if he can get that Blink Dagger up quick, which he did, and start jumping on people. It really can turn things around. So, it was interesting to see it in action.
Yeah, I really want to compare Axe to another hero who benefited, obviously, from the decrease in mana cost on the Blink Dagger, Slardar, who was already starting to become more popular. His mana issues have been addressed in the past, and we mentioned previously that Sprint had its mana cost reduced. Slardar in 6.79, 67 games played, and in 6.875, meaning across the patch 187, 188 approximately. So really a pretty big explosion for that hero as well. And I feel like I just wanted to bring up this hero in reference to Axe, because I feel like both of these are those textbook examples of heroes that you want to get the Blink Dagger so early, and you want to be able to get it and have it not be a burden to your mana pool so that you can make the plays to get the items that you want to be survivable and to fight in the team fights. I mean, you hear different casters even talking about it in games. Oh, do you like the Vanguard first or do you like the Blink Dagger? And I feel like 9 times out of 10 you hear people go, oh, get the Blink Dagger, make the play, and then get the farm off of that. Because, the time that you're delaying picking up your Blink Dagger is time that these other heroes have to build their own defensive items. So you're going to be less devastating with your Surprise, Amplify, Slithering Crush. I think both of these heroes are really similar in that you could say that the mana decrease really just allows them to fulfill that sneak attack, jump in there, make the play, and try to snowball off of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of saw it coming. I mean, he also, of course, got the sprint buff from taking out his mana cost. He's kind of been getting changed all over the place. And with that, I don't know if you have the stat there, but I'll let you do your job and look it up. The Dazzle numbers have to be skyrocketing as well. I've seen him getting picked in so many games recently. It's unbelievable. And I even look at it and I'm like, why is he even in this lineup? I'm like looking around like I don't even see some great synergy with the heal or anything. But the Shallow Grave alone feels like the best thing ever, just in so many times saving people from dives and different things. Obviously the Weave just making plays across the board for pushing and defending. He really has stepped his game, and it seems like the build seems pretty consistent with getting at least that 3 points in the Poison Touch to make the really good gank plays, and with all that physical damage really scales up. And the reason I'm trying to relate this is because Slardar and Dazzle are just such a common find these days with their massive amounts of physical damage minus armor together. They really just shred through the enemies.
I feel like this has to be wrong. Like, I feel like I have to be doing something wrong here.
You probably
because
are. Yeah.
It probably. I mean, I'm only a. I mean,
you're an art major, so what are you gonna do?
Just make it look pretty. That's really the only thing. No, this looks pretty right. So from what I could see, Dazzle had 54 games played in 6.79.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 54 games played in 6.79 and 148 played in 6.8.
Well, you talk about explosions. I think that one might take the cake of all of them.
And if you let me break out my medieval abacus, that means that across the patch you could expect to see 370 Dazzle games.
Well, we'll see about that. The
other interesting thing too is I've heard some people commentating games talking about Dazzle sort of being the IO of Slardar in reference to Tiny. If that made any sense?
Now I do.
Where if you ban IO, you're not going to see Tiny. If you ban Dazzle, are you going to see Slardar? I think you can still really get away with it in a way that you necessarily can't for Tiny, to be honest with you. I think these mana reduction changes and really Slardar's been seeing buffs not only to sprint but to amplify damage pretty consistently. Now I believe it's minus 10 armor at rank 1. That's pretty insane to just be able to jump on a hero with minus 10 armor or to go to Roshan early with minus 10 armor. I don't think you necessarily have to have the Dazzle. And I mean, what if you have Io and Slardar together? I mean, that's something that I haven't seen a whole lot of, but really could be devastating in its own right. That's definitely not the Dazzle, the Slardar. Great to see like a big uptick in his games played, and another hero that I was giddy over earlier before the show when I was telling you about this one in particular. Sandy Claus, Mr. Sand King, goes from 91 games in 6.79 to 129 in 6.8, which means potentially 322 games, and really actually a lot of presence in the East. But I think this again sort of is a nod to like Slardar, like Axe. The decrease in the mana cost really helps make up for that early game weakness of being strapped for mana. And really, I don't know where you would be finding the gold and not necessarily the experience to have your maxed out Burrow Strike by the time you pick up Blink Dagger, but really just being able to help you deal with that short range, I feel like helps a lot.
it's just like all these Blink Dagger heroes are getting picked up all across the board. Earthshaker I've seen, I feel like, more than I've seen him in the past patch. I mean, it just seems like a lot of these heroes are just getting seen time and time again. Ursa's, I've seen not often, but I've seen him get used. Now, he may be more for counter reasons than for blink reasons, like against Lycan or someone. He wants to just go toe-to-toe with them, but even still, he's still getting used. Like you said, Nyx is just all over the place, of course. That's for many reasons, but he's also one of those heroes that thrives with the Blink Dagger. He's able to set up those really great impales for his team, and that leads, obviously, into them hopefully winning the fight, or blinking into something and getting the spike carapace to get the stun initiation. I mean, he's got definitely great reasons to get that item as well, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think just, there are plenty of heroes that we didn't mention or didn't go into detail about how their stats have changed as far as presence in the patch, but, really something that I didn't notice before looking over this was really that all of these heroes that also benefit from the Blink Dagger wind up getting at least slight buffs in the patch. I mean, you just mentioned Earthshaker, who gets a 10 movement speed buff, as well as a strength gain increase. 10 movement speed is actually a pretty decent deal. Some of the other heroes wound up getting smaller changes. Like Slardar winds up getting damage increase on his bash. It's actually, I think, 30 or 40 at the last rank, so actually, still pretty decent there, 30 at the last rank. But there really seems to be like a lot of presence, a lot of emphasis placed on a lot of these initiating heroes, which I'm pretty cool with. I mean, I like this, having these heroes that have the ability to push the tempo of a game, getting these buffs and having their jobs made a little bit easier.
Another interesting thing is that the Bat Rider's right back on the front display of games these days. He kind of fell out of graces and was not as popular. Still picked up here and there depending, but now he's just seriously first pick material, it seems, all over the place again. And obviously Blink Dagger is one of his core items, but he's never really had big mana issues. He's always seemed to be just fine with just some Trank Boots and maybe some drums, or he does something along the lines, but he's never really had too many mana troubles. So obviously this maybe just makes it that much better for him in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, he's really right back up there in terms of first and second picks, and it's pretty. I don't know. I don't really love the hero, to be honest. I think he's obviously got a great position in the scene, but I just feel like his lockdown can be not as important when you can see other heroes getting picked up in that position that maybe seem more impactful in the game. I don't know. What do you think about him?
I don't know. I think his impact is, pretty significant. And, I feel like the attack animation time getting improved. It's from 0.5 to 0.3. I think, I don't play Bat Rider a whole lot, so I can't really say, how much that impacts. But when you really think back to what took him out, it was really an attack-based nerf to his damage. So giving him a little bit of that attack edge back, I think certainly helps. I think, his mana issues, he gets the 4 staff, he's probably going to get a bottle, so he can make up for it there. But, again, every little bit helps, especially when you consider that he had such a dramatic nerf to his attack damage previously. I don't know. I've never really been a big fan of Bat Rider just because I think it's a little silly how easily you can sort of just drag somebody out. But, Shadow Demon's a hero that's been getting a little bit more popular, and he's a great counter to the Bat Rider in more than one way, really, between the ultimate as well as disruption. So, he probably fits at a fair spot. I mean,
and Disruptor Glibs, just want to say. Pretty trolly against Bat.
Yeah.
Breaks the lasso.
Very true. So, yeah, like you're saying there are ways to try to get around it, so he's probably sitting fine. I'm kind of still he's my anti-mage,
That's what I'm saying. I think I just don't like him. I think maybe I understand why he's there, but I really just don't like seeing him whenever he's drafted. You understand, but at the same time you're like, oh god, here we go. Like he's gonna go and pick off a hero and the team's gonna be there, blah 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 blah. But I don't know, I get a little giddy when I see him get to 9 offlane, but that's a whole different story. So time for J4Y's What the Nuts section. Did not steal from anyone I know. Just decided to think of it myself. That's what economists do. We just have our own thoughts and ideas and just do things. So I want to start this off with, I didn't say it before, but I wanted to mention, when Bulba ran that axe, he decided to go Mjolnir. That's one of his items. For the lightning armor to proc when he taunts.
I'm just
Thoughts?
gonna sit here and sip my tea.
You're not loving that one?
What else did he get? Help me understand.
Well, he had the trank boots, right? And then he went into the blink, like right away. Got the blade mail, and then Mjolnir. Oh, sorry, casual Vit booster into Mjolnir.
Casual Vit booster.
Yes.
And then Mjolnir.
Yes.
I.
Well, to be fair, no one else on his team was going to build it because none of them looked like they would make great use of it.
Yeah, great. Well, nobody else was going to build Dagon, so we should probably.
So he should have had that too, right? I think so. So you're not in love with it.
What was was there like? I guess I would have to know the other heroes involved, but I feel like I like AC. I like Shiva's a lot. I like both of those better than Mjolnir. I feel like. I mean, I guess depending on how much emphasis is like really placed on the hero. I mean, it can hit 8 targets, 160 damage. I guess that's a good amount of damage to be done, but it feels like such a. Wait, that's not even.
It seems like a very greedy item.
It just. Yeah.
It's very non-ideal. Right?
I guess again, if a lot of pressure is being placed on his success and he needs to get big items and participate for more than the initiation, fine. I guess I get it. 20% chance to proc the lightning shield.
But the main problem actually that seemed to go throughout, like after that early game winning was going on, he kept blowing up very quickly. He would end up going in taunting, and then No Tail would drop the Static Storm on him and other people, and he couldn't get out, he couldn't run, and they ended up dropping like flies to these people. And I guess he just was looking for something that was like kind of going to give him that extra jolt of damage so he could start dunking away or something, but it did not pay off, needless to say.
See, I feel like Static Storm sounds amazing against an axe in the first place.
It's amazing against everyone. And it became an Aghanim's one, so...
Oh, yeah, see, that's the thing. As I was going to say, hey, even go casual cloak. If not all the way for a hood or a pipe or something, but I guess if it's going to get Aghanims... But see, that's the thing. You're going to Aghanims the Mjolnir too, so it doesn't matter.
Well, he's not getting the lightning procs, but the armor will already be on him when he goes in. So that's the idea. You use it on yourself, you use your blade mail on yourself, you use everything before you blink in, because obviously you won't be able to use it afterwards. But they were also going against the Naga Siren, who, if any initiation looks scary, would just ulti anyways, so they were in a deep situation anyways. But I just wanted to say first, to start off the segment with that item choice.
Oh, Lord.
Bulba going ham.
Okay.
In the XMG Captain's Draft Invitational, which happened, Alliance played Na'Vi, go figure, and Dendi played Mid Sniper, and got Wraithband, actually multiple. Got his Treads, his Mask of Madness, Yasha, got some sweet odd attacks in, and then went Blink Dagger.
Hey,
Blink
how
Sniper.
Appropriate.
Isn't that though?
How appropriate. Is this your last with the nuts?
No.
Oh.
But it's very close.
Okay. Because I have sort of a question for that. I mean, obviously this is sort of a weird situation, so you can't overanalyze it. Saw a sniper in a pub game go Blink Dagger, and I actually really liked it, to be honest with you. Just to ensure that you get that positioning. I mean, if you're not the only carry and you can really depend on other people to have success in their lane, I feel like it isn't bad because it helps you get into a great shrapnel position, helps you get to somewhere quicker to help with an assassination, which is super long range. I feel like it's kind of legit. And the sniper that we happen to be playing against in the pub game, wound up blinking into the trees. Unfortunately, we had a lot of ranged heroes, so we could... he's right there, kill him. But, if you're up against a lot of melee, that could actually be pretty devastating. If there's no way to clear trees, he just gets to sit there and go pew. So that's actually pretty cool. I kind of like that one.
It feels like a Blink Clinks. I mean, it has the same kind of feel to it. Like Eternal Envy obviously kind of brought into the scene, or at least showcased it, if not anything else. I've seen Drow's going Blink. I mean, you're seeing all these items that normally you've been like, is this guy on crack? Like, what is he doing with that item? Is he drunk? And now it's like totally, oh yeah, Drow Blink. I mean, come on, you didn't see that coming? Like, oh come on, what's going on here? It's like, Okay, I guess it's just that good nowadays. 12-second cooldown, blinking over terrain, getting in position, and killing people. Now, obviously, you don't go first sight and blink on a sniper or drow, but it's something that can come down the road that actually makes yourself find pretty useful. You can ask your question now. I can finish my with the nuts later. You can't?
No, I can't. But it's so right, Jay. It
Well, then
feels
just
so
say
right.
it.
No, finish up.
Oh,
It's
God.
okay.
Oh, okay. You're gonna make me feel bad, but okay.
I
feel
terrible.
I just okay. So I obviously looked up the Blink Dagger item on and just saw how Valve put in. You can see which heroes Valve says it's core on and which ones it's situational on. So I just want your opinion. Are you ready for some Valve situational Blink Dagger heroes?
Okay.
Okay. The first one I want your opinion on is Gyrocopter.
Wow.
Blink's Gyrocopter. What do you think about that one?
Okay. Would you like to hear how that's a good idea?
Yes, I would.
Because you blink Rocket Barrage. And what are they going to do about it, really? I actually, this is a personal thing, and I'm probably going to get yelled at for when I do it, because it's going to happen, right? I really like Gyrocopter's Aghanim Scepter upgrade. I really do. And I feel like in one of those situations where you have multiple core heroes, where you don't have to be, the game-ending super right-click Gyrocopter, I think it's such a fun thing to get, and is really a useful thing, despite the fact that you never see it. I think it's more legit than Blink Dagger.
Probably. That's probably accurate, to be fair.
Who doesn't want global call down? That's great.
I mean, we were just saying how Sniper and Drow is totally appropriate. The people are like, oh, what, you can't see a Gyro? I mean, he's another ranged auto-attack carry. Why not Gyro? And, there's time and a place for everything. And Gyro is not either of those. He is I'm going to sit back with my flat cannon and just destroy the whole team kind of hero. Now, I was also thinking maybe, he'd blink ahead and, drop his ultimate to, set it up in a better position or something, but it just, none of these things feel great. None of these things feel right.
It has to be for the Rocket Barrage. It
really does.
That's the only thing that makes sense. Air quotes for all of you listening. Yeah. Okay, give me another.
This one may be a little more reasonable.
Okay.
The Life Stealer blink.
Life Stealer blink.
Yes. So I guess we're thinking like an Ursa here. I guess.
I mean, I guess. Not really. No. Because by the time you get enough farm, it's like the Sand King thing, right? Or it's I guess you probably have level 4 Burrow Strike by the time you would have Open Wounds. Or by the time you get Blink Dagger. I feel like it's the same thing with Open Wounds. You're going to have the range. There's maybe a really particular situation where I'm down for this, and yeah, I guess if there are people that you can just maul their face off that fast, go for it. But I don't... Oh, that's so seldom, though. Maybe more often than Blink Gyrocopter. I'll give you that one.
The Gyrocopter I'm never going to get over.
It's like Blink Keeper of the Light. What is the...
Well, you see... When your ally is in desperate need of mana, and you're just out of range to Chakram, there's desperate times call for desperate measures. And,
see, I was ready for you to tell me that was one of them. I'll be honest.
No. The rest of these aren't horrible.
Okay.
They're really not. Blink Chikiro. Maybe you can see Blink cast time animation spell.
Nope. I don't see that one at all. That sounds... Okay. The only... if you wanted to blink so that you could, cut off an entire path so that there's no retreat. Okay. Oh, alright. Let me tell you, how you were talking about the 2-second realization? My first 2 seconds was all, no. Alright. Okay.
Blink Codal new meta. I think we just made that a new meta thing. People are going to start submitting videos of them going Blink Codal, and you know what? I will watch it if you guys submit it. So,
what a great thing to submit to us for
that'll fall right in line with what we're trying to look at. So that's perfect. Blink Veto. There you go. That's a little more on page there, right? Get in that position for that ultimate.
I guess that almost actually feels a lot like Blink Shadow Shaman, just because I feel like Shadow Shaman Blink's great if you're doing it on one person.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is anyone else around, I feel like they just turn and rape you immediately, and then you're like, what was the point of the Blink Dagger? Like, unless there's immediate follow-up, or you're doing it to one person.
Shadow Shaman Blink is core, actually, according to Valve. So you have to get a Blink on Shadow Shaman. And it makes sense. It does. You get the hex. You blink and cheap them. And that's a great initiation. And then you can put your wards around them, trap them, do whatever. It is a good item on him no matter what. The only one of cores that, honestly, these all feel pretty good. I feel like I didn't have really any issues per se with the core. I mean, it said Crystal Main core. I mean, yeah, I guess if you can afford it, that's kind of like a good item. But it kind of, I'm like, where do they draw a line? Because they say core on Crystal Main, but then like Lion, it's not core on. It's a situational. Because I'm like, okay, well,
I guess because it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, maybe.
And you can't make the Jakiro argument. But with Earth Spike?
Lena's core, okay, and Sven is situational.
Situational Sven I get.
Well, I definitely shouldn't be core on Sven. I think we can agree on that much.
Core Lena. Yeah, that one's...
I mean, you get the idea. You get in the position where you can set up the stun right away.
I guess. But again, I feel like there's nothing that you're...
dying for there.
It's like the Lion thing, like you just said. That's even less likely than Lions.
Right. No, exactly.
And
that's where it gets weird.
Basic kit. Actually, Lion has more CC, so it's more like the Shadow Shaman thing.
That's what I'm saying. Why is it situational on Lion? I feel like if you're gonna like say one thing, you should probably be consistent and say, okay, he would be the same way. But and then Slardar is situational, not core, for the Blink, which I kind of disagree with. And then the Meepo is situational, not core. And maybe they just ran out of slots for core on Meepo because he needs every item.
Everything.
But I mean, I've seen our friend Bonk play Meepo plenty of times, and I have to say that Blink Dagger makes a world of a difference for that hero. So.
Wait a minute. I just realized something.
Oh, no.
If Blink Dagger doesn't have a mana cost, does that mean that you can get a Blink Dagger on Lone Druid's Bear? Oh, I want that to be true.
That's not true. That's not true. There's no way you can do that. There's no way.
You could use Armlet on Lone Druid's Bear for
Well, that obviously was hotfix, so I mean, we're not going to try to compare it to that. That does not seem... Oh, God.
Doesn't seem like...
It doesn't seem like something... Okay. Why do you want the Blink Dagger on the Bear?
I'm just saying, right? I'm just wondering, first of all. And second, Well,
technically, I guess you can have it on the Bear. I mean, he can carry it. I don't know if he can use it, though. I guess why not? It doesn't have mana cost. You're right. I don't know.
You just don't like it because it hurts so good thinking about having the Bear.
This feels on the very similar level to Blink Codal right about now. I'm just saying, I could see any other item being way better for Lone Druid's Bear than a Blink Dagger.
I'm just saying, last Lone Druid game I played, it was about 100% entangle accuracy on first hit. Blink on that Bear would have been rough. No one gets away. You gotta blink on top of them to apply Orb of Venom, so that you get more attacks to entangle. Oh my god, send that in the videos, please. Oh my gosh, I'll make sure that gets into the new project. I will guarantee that happens. Oh.
What I saw in a pro game, though, which you probably will agree with, I saw a Blink Shadow Demon.
Yeah.
He had just a Trank Boots and then went right for the Blink.
I get that. I mean, to be honest, I was even trying to think of some heroes where it would feel like super trolly on, but I was even like, you figure,
does Gyrocopter ring a bell?
What?
I said, does Gyrocopter ring a bell?
Yeah. I was thinking, like, even Skywrath Mage. Like, what if you really needed to jump somebody with a silence? Like, even though he has Conch Shot, which is super long range, 1800, right? If you really needed the silence, there's a situation where the Blink makes a lot of sense on him if you can afford it. I mean, we always talk about item builds being so situational to your situation, not necessarily being something you come into a game predetermined with. Heroes that could take advantage of it, and here we go. Here's how we wrap around into what I wanted to say earlier.
All right.
Jay, I want to play a little devil's advocate because, like I said earlier, I'm pretty much a fan of the new Blink Dagger. But you had 6.78. It was Midas Gaming. 6.79.
Yes.
Necronomicon Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
It's 6.78 or 6.8. Blink Gaming. And do you think it is bad? Do you think something needs to be done? Maybe a little bit mana cost brought back because, like we've been alluding to really the whole time, we have supports picking it up, we have offlaners picking it up, mids, carries, people in all these different situations that are willing to drop the 2150 to get this Blink Dagger. Do you think that it maybe needs to be scaled back a bit?
No. I think it's a really good word.
Right. Discussion ended.
No, I mean, I think honestly, it doesn't seem overpowered, to be honestly. I feel like it's not really necessarily changing how team fights develop or anything. They kind of all still follow the same suit. It just kind of more affects the sustained fight, as well as, like we said, it's not even really changing that many people's item builds. Like, Magnus still does the arcane boots. I mean, a lot of these heroes are still going very similar builds, just now, like you said, maybe there's a few extra heroes along the way, like Kodal and Gyrocopter, that are getting it that normally wouldn't have gotten it. And I mean, you just have to... I don't think that means, like, because, these new heroes are getting it, we should, like, get rid of it. I think the mana cost should stay removed. I don't like it there. If you want to nerf it, I think maybe the cooldown's the way to get back at it or something, but I don't think the mana cost... I think it's great being at 0, and it should stay that way.
Yeah, I'm on board because I was thinking too. Now let's not everybody close the podcast because of this, but League of Legends, right?
I'm closing it. Shoot.
Has shutting it down, kids. No League of Legends talk here. They have this ability Flash. It's really short-ranged Blink Dagger, if you will, that doesn't get canceled by combat. You get it immediately if you want.
It's overpowered. Keep going.
It's quite strong, overpowered. And, trying to compare to that, that really, that interaction I felt like broke that game because you could have people that just go, I'm going to walk through some brushes and not care because I can just blink away level 1. I can't get caught. Of course, the enemy team could blink after them, I guess, is how you can, because everybody goes it, probably still. I
believe they do. I think it's all 10 still. Yeah.
10 of 10.
Why wouldn't you? It's a blink. I mean, come on.
10 of 10 would flash again. And also, you figure so many heroes in that game, like, their kits are just so... a lot of them will wind up having, like, a heavy slow or a stun. I feel like there are, like, a lot of heroes, maybe not a lot of heroes, but a fair number of heroes where Blink Dagger just straight up doesn't make sense, like Enchantress. Like, why would you want to Blink Dagger on Enchantress?
Do you really need me to break out the argument on that? Because it wouldn't be hard.
Okay, you can get a slow off, but you're going to be blinking in so that you can be... out of, like, your creeps are either going to be behind or going to be there at the same time. You're going to be doing less impetus damage. You're squishy, so someone could just nuke you as soon as you blink in.
But if they're all auto attackers, by the time with your untouchable, they try to get that auto off on you, your cooldown will be good to go, and you can blink away.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think anything that gives you such dramatic movement is going to be huge for just about any hero. Mm-hmm. But you figure also compared to League of Legends, you have to make this huge investment. It's 2,100 gold. We're talking about the Drow Ranger. Like you're saying, we've seen Drow change from when we first saw her come into the competitive scene and a little bit that she did. It was about the aura. It was about stacking the agility up. Now it's Mask of Madness, Blink Dagger,
Force
Maelstrom. Force, yeah. Well, if you're Arteezy. I feel like it really, I think, does impact your build for some heroes where it doesn't necessarily make as big a sense, so dramatically that you have to, like, make it work. Like Sniper, right? If you're spending 2,100 gold on that, then you're not getting a Yasha, which is going to help you farm faster and still make you more mobile.
Yeah, counter question, is that a bad thing for the game to break up builds? I think maybe it will just add that much more to it. Like, now there's actually diversity in these heroes builds that before just did exactly the same thing every time.
Yeah, no, I think if you're going to have it be something where every hero or not every hero, but a lot more heroes are born interested in getting it, then I think you have to say that, you have to change something up, because if you can just be super mobile all of a sudden and not sacrifice anything but, some damage for it, then you might be able to say, well, maybe this is too strong and we need to take a look at it. And again, there are other heroes like Tidehunter, right? 36 times played in 6.79, 14 played in 8.0, and that means he's going to end up with approximately 35 games. And this is coming off of getting a minimal buff, but a buff to Kraken Shell. So this hero gets a buff directly and indirectly, and it still doesn't matter, right? Enigma is going to stay pretty much on par, 89 projected 100, right? And he gets an AoE increase and a cast range increase on his ultimate. So some of these heroes, they're really still not getting a whole lot out of these buffs where you might expect that they would. So I feel like it's actually pretty fair.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think it's all it's done is really help the heroes that were really kind of needing or having need for it. Just letting them come out of the gates here, like Centaur, like some of these other different heroes that are just really going to shine now with these buffs. Omni Knight, when someone finally does my build in a real game, things like that, which obviously should be done. Well, I have done it. I mean, it's been done. There's no real new thing being developed there, but maybe other players can join in the fun there.
You know what? Why didn't we do that more with Midas Gaming, right, when it was cheaper? Like Omni Knight, Midas, Radiance, Blink Dagger.
It sounds like a lot of time to get there.
It's like 10 minutes. 10 minutes max.
Roughly. I always in Dota 1 went the Radiance on Omni Knight. First item. Well, that's not true. Sometimes went the Perseverance, and then went the Radiance, and then finished the Battle Fury later. But, of course it's a Battle Fury. Why would that be anything else? But, it really just depended on how I was feeling that day. I did want to ask you, we had a friend at Dota 1 who, I want to know your opinion on this build. He played the Anti-Mage. That's his actual name. Went the Blink Dagger as usually a first or second item. He had it in the game. So, what did you think about the Blink Anti-Mage?
There's a great video of a Blink Dagon Anti-Mage.
Oh, jeez, that's brutal.
And if you haven't seen it, you just need to, because it's like not only obviously straight up trolling, but he actually does some like good plays using the double blink.
Oh, is that the one where he also goes Yules and like just goes completely ridiculous items?
I don't remember if there were Yules involved, but I remember being like, this isn't just he's able to just like he's playing such lower skill people, like he just, I don't know how to say it. He outplays people with the double blink. It's not just because he's so much better than them. He uses the item effectively to outplay people. And it was actually really entertaining. So if you haven't seen that, please do, so that you can abuse Blink Dagger on every hero. Go Blink Gyro. Do that too.
Please.
Go Blink Bear. Ollie is actually checking it out right now. I don't know if we'll have time before the end of the show.
Probably not, but everyone should try it just in case.
Oh,
might as well. In a real game, not any fake games or anything.
Yeah.
You gotta go ham. Just buy it, use it, see if it works, and then sell it right away, and then you'll be good to go.
Perfect.
Probably.
What could go wrong?
But I think that's pretty much wrapped up my thoughts and opinions here.
Yeah, I mean, anybody else out there, if we didn't talk about some heroes that you want to talk about Blink Dagger with, if you've had your own good, bad, indifferent experiences with the new Blink Dagger, let us know. Tell us how your league's going. Stop by, give us 3 likes on
That's
Facebook. That's all we need. Pushing 200. If you do, we're going to give you the same stuff we were going to give you anyways. Also, submit us those games of yours that are just ridiculous and kind of silly and a lot of fun, because we definitely want to use you guys as source material. We love interacting with you, and we really want to bring you something that you'll hopefully enjoy. So yeah, stay tuned. Watch all these fantastic Dream League games. Go out there, play your own Dream League games. I don't know. And tune in next time. We'll see you right here. Episode 81 coming to you next week. See you then.